We aren't going to memorize commodity codes, or anything like that, but we might try to understand how they work. Just to recap, before we arrived at this page, we scrolled through the HMRC All Sections list. We saw that in the All Sections list, a great many different product types were lumped together and grouped by consecutive ranges of chapter numbers. These consecutive ranges were then broken down into individual chapters. We also saw that the product types within each chapter were also then split into smaller groups called subsections, which we saw as 01, 02, and 03. After that we saw that our commodity code numbers start with the same chapter section numbers we saw earlier. 66 and 01. The chapter number and subsection number, in combination, therefore appears to identify the smallest grouping in which a product type can be found. Furthermore, HMRC tells us in guidance that each commodity code is made up of a number of different parts, based on the type of product, the material used to make it, and the production method. We shall indeed be visiting this guidance shortly. For now, I'll hazard a guess, from our experience, and say that, after the chapter and subsection numbers, i.e., the first 4 digits of the commodity code, the rest of the commodity code, in combination, identifies the type of product, the material used to make it, and the production method. The Trade Tariff tool is a handy utility for finding commodity codes to use in your customs declarations. However, the Trade Tariff tool contains a vast body of tariff data, developed and evolved over time. The tariff masks a long history of experience, providing a tariff, with tariff data, with underlying expertise, that allows you to not only classify ready-made goods, but also an untold myriad of materials, and combinations of materials, parts etc. that are being used in your manufacture process. However, under any changing circumstances, including the months, before and after Brexit, complications may arise as parts of the tariff will get modified, maybe even updated frequently. Even under these circumstances, any products, parts and raw materials that you wish to import or export must still be classified correctly, using these changing commodity codes. Often, these codes may already exist in the trade tariff, and you simply have to find them. You might use this search the tariff box, and we will look at that later. For now, let's point out help, because sometimes, looking for certain commodity codes may end up feeling like searching for a moving needle in a shifting haystack. On top of this, if the code you need doesn't exist, or if there is a problem with it, you will need help with classifying your items. If you need help finding the correct commodity code, look for help, such as guidance, using the Trade Tariff tool to find a commodity code. http://www.gov.uk/guidance/ using the Trade Tariff tool to find a commodity code. Don't forget the dashes along here. Scroll down a bit. And under searching the Trade Tariff tool, we see that commodity codes are made up of a number of different parts based on the type of product, the material used to make it, and the production method. You can use the search box I pointed out earlier. If after searching, your item is not accurately described, there is a link to the A to Z Trade Tariff Index. Scrolling down, we see an example with chapter and subsection numbers using cotton and polyester trousers. Below that, help to classify your goods. Sometimes you might need to know what your product is made up of, in order to classify it correctly. For those occasions, here we see that you can contact an independent laboratory, such as the Library and Information Center of the Royal Society of Chemistry, to get your goods analyzed, if you need to. Email library@rsc.org. Below that, advise if you have different items packaged in a set, or if your items consist of more than one substance. You might wish to briefly review the trouser example above. Scrolling down, we see there is a global classification system. Also, whilst the UK remains part of the EU, or whilst some form of legislation or agreement covers usage by UK businesses, you can also access classifications and commodity codes used around the world from here, European Commission Market Access Database. It's worth noting that if you are using a code provided by an overseas supplier, you had still better check it using the Trade Tariff tool or with HMRC in order to make sure UK customs will still recognize it. And that's nice. But, as a beginner, you really ought to consider getting help with customs declarations. Guidance, get someone to deal with customs for you. https://www.gov.uk/guidance/ appoint someone to deal with customs on your behalf, separated by dashes. Here we see you can hire somebody to sort out your customs declarations. You can get help from freight forwarders, customs agents or brokers, and fast parcel operators. These may act directly or indirectly on your behalf. What do all these terms mean? I'd like to say I don't know, but I do cover all these terms in later videos. So, stay tuned.